The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
BUMBLEFOOT. BUMBLEFOOT.
Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make a lot of noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you. With you.
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
Alright.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat a moment. We will be in to prepare for takeoff. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and liftoff.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. It's good to have you along for the ride on this Wednesday, April 19th, Thursday, April 20th. If you're on the East Coast, hope you had a great day, evening, and night. We are live right here in Uncle Jimbo's cabin, right here in the Great White North, as we are here 7 days a week for your listening pleasure. Let's welcome in everyone listening in on our terrestrial radio stations. WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We're also live on United Public Radio Networks on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us. We're live at spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, on our brand new affiliate, KTLK, or KLTK, pardon me, KTLK. There we go. Now we got it right. I spelled it wrong, guys. Sorry. That's the Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and on Revolution Radio. If you're listening in on the Double R machine, remember, it is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. If you like our theme music, you can thank our resident guitar god, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at hashtag SpacedOutRadio and at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. We're also on RadioGuide.fm, TalkStream Live, and on Stitcher. And, of course, our website is SpacedOutRadio.com. And if you head over to Patreon.com, for as low as $1 a month, you can become a patron of Spaced Out Radio. If you want to take part in this show, we do not do call-ins. But if you type your questions in capital letters on one of our chat rooms, I'd love to get to them. You can go to our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on Listen Live, on Revolution Radio, on Spreaker, on the UPRN chat room, or if you're a valued member of the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook, you know what to do. Or if you're on Twitter, once again, use the hashtag SpaceOutRadio. I'll get your questions in there as well. If you head to our website for just $5 a month, you can become a space traveler of ours. You can also check out our brand new news section, The Encounter, online for free, dealing with everything paranormal from our editors, Everett Thiemer and Eric Markham. Check out my latest blog there as well. And check out the SOR Sightlines Report. If you've had an experience or something you can't explain, Mike Schmidt is ready to find out what's going on. This is the second edition of our brand new feature on Spaced Out Radio, as we call it, The Ghosts of the Great White North. Now, the reason behind this show, even though the majority of our listeners are based out of the United States, we have literally, shockingly actually, been inundated with curiosity from people asking, where are all the ghosts in Canada? Is Canada not haunted? Well, yes it is, which is why once a month we are dedicating time to find out what's going on with the ghosts up here. Maybe the colder they are, because of the snow, that they just don't want to hang out too much, or they're gathered at some local Tim Hortons for a donut. There are always ghost teams across the country who are dedicated to solving the haunted issues of Canada. Tonight, as per usual, I am joined by my co-host, Mike Morin from Canadian Paranormal Investigations. Joining us tonight are two members of the Edmonton Paranormal Society. Sherry Moore and Kathy Rogers are here to talk to us about the ghosts of the prairies. Edmonton, being the most northern of Canada's metropolises, it's also an older city fixated as the capital of Alberta. Alberta, built on farming and a booming oil industry, has a rich past of history. And tonight we're going to look at what the hauntings are like way up north. We're also lucky because I'm sure Kathy and Sherry would not be here if their Edmonton Oilers were playing tonight in the NHL playoffs. And me being an Oilers fan, we got to come back. We're tied 2-2 with San Jose right now. I got a bet on this series with Laurie and Fenton down in San Jose, and we got to make sure that the Oilers pull it off. Kathy, Sherry, and Mike, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Glad to have you all with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good day.
For having us.
Ladies,
thank you, yes.
I'll get you ladies to talk up a little bit louder. Mike, move a little bit away from your microphone. You're awfully loud. I want to say thank you so much for being with us, because this is a feature that is brand new. We started off in Saskatchewan with members of PASS, and now we're moving to Edmonton. I don't know where we're going to go next month. But the fact is, Sherry and Kathy, there are a lot of ghosts in Canada. Even though Canada isn't as old by almost 100 years to our friends of the South, there is still a rich history of people traveling north, people traveling across country, early settlers that just have stuck around. So, Kathy, I'm going to bring you in first, if you don't mind. What got you into the paranormal? Everybody has a story.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, I guess actually it started, most of it started when my daughters are now 27 and 22, and I have a 12-year-old son. But before he was born, we lived in a house that it's actually in a book that was written by an Edmontonian. I can't remember his name offhand. I'm so sorry. But it's called Haunted Edmonton, and it's the story is actually kind of it's deemed the Barbie house because we actually had Barbie dolls that would appear everywhere, all over the house. And it was a crazy, wild experience. We would be in one room and walk into the next room, and videotapes. Well, at the time, that was 10, 12 years ago. Videotapes at the time were stacked up. We just it was a crazy house, and I actually looked for. At the time, I thought I was crazy, and so I started looking for paranormal investigators. I couldn't find any at all, and anybody that offered to come over to the house, it was a cost of hundreds of dollars, which I just, as a single mom, I couldn't afford. So when my son was born, we had moved houses, but my son was born, and we started getting experiences all over again. And it got to a point where he was about 1.5, 2, and he was saying, the guy's in my room. And one time I just got so frustrated, I turned around, I turned to the corner where he was pointing, and I said, just get out of my son's room right now. Just get out. I was actually a little bit more swearing than that, but, and I watched as his eyes started from one end of the room and watched what I would assume was he was watching somebody walk out to the door. And I said, is he gone? And he said, yeah. And he went and he fell asleep. And that was the end of that. But, I'd be giving him a bath, and he'd lean around me, and he'd look and point and go, who's that? And I was like, well, I'm not going to turn around to find out, but, So I actually started searching for paranormal teams, and I did find the Edmonton Paranormal Society, and at the time we used to have monthly meetings open to the public. So I started attending the meetings, and then I became an investigator, and it just went from there, and that was in 2010.
And Sherry, what about yourself? What's your story?
Pretty much the same. Grew up in a house that was very active, only it scared the living crap out of us when my sister and I were kids. So it was a combination of being terrified most of the time, plus I need to know what's causing this, only I never did find any explanation for what caused the stuff that happened when I was growing up. And then as an adult, I lived in a small town just outside of Edmonton for a while where I raised my kids, and we had the same sort of things happen in the house that we were living in. We eventually called it Frankie and told it was, we were willing to work with it if it would just keep the house safe. And so it was a good relationship, actually. And then I went to the same group meeting that Kathy is talking about, and my daughter became an investigator before I did, and then I joined, and like she said, the rest is history. So that'd be around, I think I joined became an investigator about a year or so after she did. So about 10 years, almost 9 to 10 years, I guess we've been doing this now.
And one of the things about getting involved in this is it's always that personable story that everyone has where no matter what you do, you need to find the answers to what you've seen. And in fact, we were talking about it last night on this show with Rich Giordano in regards to UFOs, but in the paranormal in general, Kathy, where everybody just seems to have that one experience that they just can't let go of. Yours happened with your family. Do you find that as well, that is where your curiosity started because you just couldn't let it go after what was happening in your home?
Oh, absolutely. And it seems that even though, growing up and even in living in different places, in my 20s, 30s, little things would happen. But, you know, it's not that I ever doubted the existence of something else or doubted the existence of the paranormal. It just seemed to be natural for me to have that belief, but I wasn't interested in the belief, if that makes any sense. Like, it was, you know, if you find your keys moved or something odd, it was like, okay, well, whatever. You know, it was pretty much my thought process, because I was busy raising kids and working, and you don't have time for that kind of stuff, you know, but unless it's really interfering in your life. And when it was me and my daughters in this one particular house, it was starting to actually interfere in our life, and making you doubt your actual sanity, where you're going, how does this happen? Like, you're starting to wonder, is somebody breaking into my house? What is going on here? Like, you're really starting to wonder, am I crazy? And that's where that interest, really stemmed from. And then it seemed like from that house itself, experiences just continued, and it seemed to open up that world. And that's where the interest really started to peak for me.
We bring in Mike Morin from Canadian Paranormal Investigations. Michael, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I was just listening to the stories.
Well, I would assume so, since you're on the line,
Yes, I was actually curious, with your encounter in your house with your daughters, did you end up investigating your own house?
I did not, but yes and no. I wouldn't say as an investigation I didn't, because we actually ended up moving probably about a year after all of the things started happening. But it did get to one point where it's, when you watch horror movies and you see the family all sleeping in one room, that was me and my daughters. And they, even though I tried to undermine anything that was going on, they were terrified. They would not sleep in their rooms. And so it was me and my girls. We were all bunched into this double bed. And I mean, it was crazy. My youngest daughter actually followed me around. It was like I had Velcro attached to my leg. She wouldn't, if I was in the kitchen, she was in the kitchen. And this was all day long. And so when you had something happen in another room where it was just her and I at home at the time, it's just you and your daughter at home. It's not her doing anything because she's right there, right beside you. So, it was, that's where, like I said, you start to doubt your sanity. But I did start investigating, not as an investigation into the house, but I started looking at some of the causes of what the possible paranormal activity was. And I got really fascinated with the, the name of it is escaping me because I'm on the radio, of course. What is the poltergeist, the famous poltergeist story?
Which one?
From England.
The Enfield one?
The Enfield poltergeist. I got really interested in that. And what I actually ended up discovering was a lot of the activity that was happening. I do break it down to a poltergeist I would have to say that I kind of created a lot of the things that were happening within the house. I was working 3 jobs. I had 2, one preteen daughter and 1 kindergarten age daughter. I was stressed. I was really sleeping like probably 3 nights, 3 hours a night. So, I was newly divorced. So when you think of all of these things that were going on, I would probably break it down to a poltergeist activity, which probably to some degree brought out any other entities that may have been, attached around. You know what I mean? It was probably like a big signal going, hello, come on in, join, right?
Did you happen to check into the history of the property, or what did you see? Like, did you see full bodies?
Here's the funny thing is we actually grew up, that house was actually my next door neighbor to my parents. So I actually grew up beside that house. So I did know the history of the house from the time that the house was built. And there was no, anybody that had died within the house. There was really no history of, that we could find of the land or the house itself. It was the same family until I had bought it that had lived in that house all along. But as for what we saw, it was my girls that had actually said that they had seen they had both described the same little girl that they had seen in the house. And they had described it to me on different occasions, where they wouldn't have heard the other one talk about it. To my knowledge, anyway, they may have discussed it, privately, but there was also a 5-year difference between the girls, right? But they had described seeing a little girl within the house, but it was mostly material things that were constantly moving. Like I said, we would, there was one time, actually, when we first started discovering it, my daughter and her friend were playing with these Barbie dolls, and I could hear them laughing, and then they'd run down the hallway, and they'd giggle, and then they'd come back and scream, and they were just doing some kind of game, and I was kind of ignoring the whole thing. It was just a sleepover that they were having, and I thought, okay, they're just goofing around with something. And then they said, "This is the coolest thing, Mom, you got to watch. If we put the Barbie doll here and we go down the hallway, when we come back, she's in another position. She's on the other wall." And I thought, what? What are you guys talking about? And then they showed me. They said, "Okay, we're going to put the Barbie right here. Okay, come on into the living room." And then we stood there in the living room for probably 30 seconds. And we went back, and sure enough, the Barbie doll was on a whole other wall in that hallway. And that's where I went, what the hell is going on? So, and this continued. And then they got actually so scared that they went next door to where my parents lived and spent the night over there. And the next day I came home, and I walked in the door with my other daughter, and there was Barbie dolls everywhere, in between the taps of the sink. There was one on the ceiling fan in the kitchen, on top of the fridge. There was probably about 20 or 30 Barbie dolls just in various parts of the house. And I thought, okay, maybe my daughter, my other daughter, the one that was originally starting all of this, I thought maybe she'd come into the house and, place these Barbie dolls around. So I was kind of upset, and I phoned my mom, and I said, tell the girls to come over here and clean up this mess that they made with the Barbie dolls. And she said, "Kathy, I don't know what you're talking about. They've been terrified to leave my side all day. These girls won't leave my side." She goes, "I'll send them over, but they didn't make any mess in the house. They haven't been there all day." And you could tell by the look on their faces when they walked in that, they were just about in tears. They were terrified. So, in fact, that daughter, or my daughter's friend, never came back for another sleepover after. She just absolutely refused.
I have to say, Kathy, that sounds so familiar to me, because my ex-wife and I, we rented a one half of a duplex, and our best friends had the other side. And our side completely haunted. Nothing ever happened on their side. And hearing you speak about your daughter with the toys, my daughter had a ghost in her room, a little girl. And my daughter was about 3 years old at the time. And literally, we would have, right before bed, we'd have cleanup time. And then she'd crawl into bed, and then all of a sudden you wake up at 7:30 because you're getting up for work, or the child is up and wants breakfast or whatever, and you'd look in her room, and her room is just destroyed. Like toys absolutely everywhere. And we would start kind of going, what are you doing? Are you playing with your toys? And she would start crying just like your daughter. And I remember saying to me, "Daddy, it's not me. It's not me. I woke up and it was like this," And, so you start wondering, okay, because now you got to clean up this mess again. And let's face it, as a parent, who loves to clean up that mess? None of us do. None of us. Right. But all of a sudden, one day, the kids were at Grandma and Grandpa's. And we hear my daughter's squeaky bedroom door open. And then we hear the pitter-patter of little feet running down the hallway. And my wife and I, because we were just starting out, we kind of did things backwards. We couldn't afford a good bed for ourselves at that time. And we had a squeaky bed. And you hear the little pitter-patter of the little feet running down the hall to the master bedroom. And then you would hear our bed going, much like you think something else is going on. But in reality, here her and I are sitting on the couch downstairs looking up at the ceilings. Okay, we got both cats beside us. The dog is on the floor. What the heck is happening? And that's where we became believers of what our daughter was saying. Now, Sherry, do you have something similar like that happened to you? And if you could describe it.
Well, like I said, when I was growing up as a kid, things happened in the house all the time. We would hear dishes rattling in the kitchen sometimes and wake up in the morning and find the kitchen table all set for the family to sit down and eat breakfast. None of us ate breakfast in our family. That's just not something we did. So we kind of took it as a sign that somebody was telling us that we should be doing that maybe. But there was things like that. It wouldn't happen all the time, but you would find things like that. One time, my sister and I were home alone. We were sitting in the living room reading, and my grandpa, we had one of those attic doors, the trapdoor kind where you pushed up on it, and it was in the ceiling. And he had nailed it down because winter was coming, and so in order to keep the draft down, it was an old house, he had nailed it down from the attic and then went out the entrance. There was an outside entrance to the attic, so that it was nailed down from the attic side. And we were sitting there, and the house was perfectly quiet. We were reading, and all of a sudden we heard that horrible screaming sound that you hear when nails are being pulled out of wood. We didn't even bother to check it out. We were gone out of the house, and waited until the rest of the family got home. We're heading to bed later, and we have to pass underneath that attic door to get to our room. And my sister grabbed me, and she was absolutely white, and she pointed up, and the door is gone. The attic door is gone. My grandpa was furious. He thought we had done something to it while they were gone. So he got the stepladder out and went and with a flashlight went up into the attic, and the attic door had been pulled. The nails were still in the door, but it had been pulled right out of the opening, and is in the far end of the house leaning up against the wall. So we didn't sleep too well for a while after that, but it became normal for us. All the activity in the house became completely normal. And I remember one time when my cousin came and spent the night, she slept in my room. I had 2 beds in my room, and I slept through everything. I guess all kinds of things were happening, and I slept through the whole thing, and she flat out refused to spend another night in the house after that. She wouldn't tell me what happened, but she flat out refused to spend another night in the house. And what?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, I was just going to mention there was the house that I was living in that small town later when my kids had been born. And my kids were younger. That was the one we called Frankie, and then said he or she could stay as long as they were cooperative. And my daughter was sitting in the bedroom, and I could hear her laughing. And so I asked her what happened, and I guess she had one of those Rockstar guitars. Will you play that Rockstar game on the video game? And There's a whammy bar on this guitar. There's a whammy bar, and you have to push the whammy bar down. So the cat was in her room, and I guess, and was sniffing the whammy bar or sniffing the guitar, and she watched the whammy bar go down on the guitar until the cat's nose was right over top of it, and then it released and smacked the cat in the nose, and the cat took off down the hallway, and she was just killing herself laughing. She goes, "You're not going to believe what Frankie did to the cat," and she was telling me about this. But things like that would happen all the time. I was watching TV one night. I was the only one at home, and the cat had been locked in my daughter's room, and my daughter had a door that was really sticky. You had to put your shoulder to it to get the door open, and the cat was asking to get out, scratching at the door. And there was a spot in the movie that was, it was at that point in the movie where you did not want to get up and go anywhere else because it was really, really good. The cat scratching at the door, and I said, yeah, whatever, and I'll be there in a minute, like the cat would understand. But then the cat got more and more frantic with the scratching, and I just kept saying, yeah, I'll get there in a minute, just whatever. And then the door flew open. The cat came flying down the hall with his tail the size of this huge puffed-up tail. The door slammed shut again. I just said, thank you, and kept on watching the movie. It was a good movie. I wasn't going to go let the cat out at that point. But it just becomes the new normal. And since I knew there was no physical reason, like there wasn't a draft in the house, I don't know what draft can open a sticky door anyway, but it kind of, on one hand, as an investigator, you believe that something's going on, or you want to believe that something's going on, and yet on the other hand, you really, really, really want that proof And so far I haven't actually found the proof, which I found kind of at odds. But
I'm personally not a fan of ghosts or anything going on in my house. I like to leave it at the door. What town did that happen in? And did you ever look into the property?
It's a little town about an hour north of Edmonton called Westlock. And the house I was living in was newly built. There wasn't anything else, but it was farmland prior to that, I would assume. But nothing had ever happened in the house. Nothing ever really, exciting, or nobody died. There was nothing to suggest that there should be any reason why there should be an entity sitting in that house. But there was definitely something there. Definitely. We could hear crying in the basement sometimes and knew that nobody was down there. And I was at the computer desk one night the two dogs, we had two dogs, they were lying by my feet and they were sleeping. And a rubber ball, my kids call them bouncy balls, those little tiny rubber balls that you throw at the wall and then knocks everything out for 15 minutes afterwards. It bounced up the stairs from the basement. The dogs were freaking out all over the place. They were trying to get under the chair where I was sitting. They were both trying to stuff themselves under the chair and barking at the stairs. And, it just becomes the new normal for when you're living in a situation like that.
Mike,
Although where I'm living now, there's nothing.
Right. Mike, before you got into paranormal investigation, had you ever lived in a haunted home?
I did have an experience in my home when I was young. I was laying on my couch, home from school, probably grade 6-ish, and a old man with a beard, came up my stairs. I was fully awake, not on any painkillers or cough medicines or anything like that, and he looked at me, looked down the hallway, and just ran back down the stairs to the point where I could hear it, like the loud feet, like a big guy. Called my neighbor, an old grandma who brought over her husband's pepper spray, went through my house, and nothing there. That was probably my first experience in my personal house. That being said, I used to dabble. I was young and dumb. I played with the Ouija board and that back then, but no more.
One of the things that I always like to ask people, whether I'm on the air or whether I am in public, people who are having paranormal experiences throughout their time, Kathy, is before you got into this, what's the eeriest thing that ever happened to you? Was it that story with your daughter, or was there something else? And the reason why I ask that is because we take this personally. As investigators, right. I know plenty of investigators who take this personally. And it always comes down, like I said, to that one instance. So after that incident, did the paranormal activity continue around something that was just strange to you?
Well, even before this had happened, in the home with my daughters, there was little things that I couldn't quite explain. There was one time my daughter, my oldest one, the one who's 27 now, I think she was in grade 1 at the time, and she had come home from school, and she was sitting on the couch and having a snack and watching TV, and her back was toward the window. But her elementary school was up the block. Like, you couldn't see it out our window. You'd have to actually, go to the end of the block or the end of the front yard, and then look up the street to see the school. But it was about a block, let's say a block and a half away. And so she was sitting there eating her cereal one day, or her snack, and we heard all these sirens and, the whole bit. And I thought, oh my God, I wonder what happened, because this was one of those quiet streets where you never get an ambulance, and if you do, like, the entire neighborhood's outside, right? So she just sat there calmly, and she just said, David got hit by a car. He broke his leg, but it's okay, because her teacher was, and she named her teacher and said she's going with him to the hospital and he'll be all right. And she didn't even look away from the TV. She was just staring straight at it, and this just came out of her mouth, and I looked at her and I went, what? And she goes, yeah, everything's going to be fine. And so we went to school the next day, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He ran out in front of a car, got his leg broke. Teacher went with him to the, and I was like, oh my God, what the heck? But little things like that, if it wasn't her, it would be my youngest daughter who, was, we had moved out of that house when she was, I think she was 6 or 7 when we moved out. So we were in there for about 5 years. So these little things, it was just like a build-up, leading to right after I got separated and, going through, like I said, the 3 jobs and everything like that. But these little things were happening where you kind of go, what the heck is going on? And they would just say something that there was absolutely no way that they could know, or just, just different things that were happening in the house. I remember when we first were moving into that house, we were in one of the bedrooms painting the room, and we weren't quite living in the house at that point. We were just fixing it up, and then, we were planning on moving in a couple weeks later. But the 2 girls were with us, and my husband and I were painting the walls, and we had music playing in one of the bedrooms from a ghetto blaster. And I went in, I would always unplug everything because the house was going to be empty, and, it's old electrical, and, you're not 100% sure yet. You're not living in the house, so you don't want it going up in flames when you're not there. So I would unplug everything. It was just a thing of mine. And I walked into one of the bedrooms, and the cord was not only unplugged from the wall, but also wrapped around the ghetto blaster. Now, nobody had been in that room except, like I said, the girls were with us, and it was just my husband and I. And I went, what the heck? And I walked out into the kitchen, and he looked at me and he said, I swear to God, if you tell me that ghetto blaster was unplugged, we're not moving in here. So I just kept my mouth shut, and that was the end of it. But just little things like that, it was like, just these little things that were happening. Not enough to say that something was haunted, just enough for you to go, what the heck is going on? Right? So, but then after, like I said, after we moved out, I had bought another house, and me and my girls moved in, and then my son was born, and that's where things, that was enough to make me start actually looking into, okay, what really is going on? Like, there's got to be other things, because this is not normal. And you'd bring it to people, and people would either give you that look of, oh my gosh, you're really crazy, or they would, it was. You kind of just started to feel like you were crazy, to be honest, because of the things that were happening, right? And, it was, I remember walking into one of the bedrooms one time. My son was playing a video game, and I think he was probably about 2.5, 3. It was just that leapfrog, kind of, for his age. And I said, what are you doing? And he's going, well, I'm playing a video game with the guy. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, the guy. He's like looking at me like I don't see him. Like I'm like, what's wrong with you, Mom? He's sitting right here. And I said, well, what does he look like? And he's, he describes this guy. And he goes, well, he only has one eye, but he's got red hair and da-da-da-da-da. And he describes him perfectly, according to him. And that was the end of that. So I just kind of left him be, and, but that was where I started really looking into everything. And like I said, I joined the meetings, and yeah. And
my first experience with the paranormal happened when I was like 20 years old, 21 years old. I was working at a hockey rink at a training facility. Go figure, Canadian show, growing up. Yeah, I know. And it was, I
don't know. What's that hockey thing? I don't know. Can you describe it? No.
What is it? It's on the ice, But anyhow, this building, it was in like a warehouse type district. You know how you got those long strips of warehouse buildings, and anyways, it was right at the end of it, and there was no businesses around. But so much paranormal activity happened there that place, even going in there and looking at it, would give me the absolute creeps. I remember one time, when I was working, we were finishing up the shift, and there was no hockey players around, and it's about 11 o'clock at night, and I'm cleaning up the dressing rooms, and I'm going as fast as I could go because my cousin is there, his girlfriend is there, and we want to go out to the club that night and get there before the lineups start. You know how it is when you're 19, 20.
Yeah.
Anyways, for Americans 21. Anyways, all of a sudden, we hear from the dressing rooms the sound of the hockey pucks hitting the plexiglass. And we stop, and we're like, who the hell is on the ice? And the puck stopped, so we continued on, and all of a sudden the puck started hitting the plexiglass again. And we go out, we look at the ice, and there's nobody on the ice. Nobody in the building. I go check the doors. All the doors are locked. But this happened. Little instances like that happened so frequently that it got to the point where I absolutely freaked out being there. And every night it seemed like there was something weird happening in that place. Sherry, have you ever been or worked in a place like that?
Not worked in a place like that, or I've lived in places like that for sure, but I've never actually worked in a place that's been haunted or had weird things happening. I tell you though, that little town of Westlock is a happening little place. I'm not sure why, because there should be no reason for it. But do you remember that little house, Kathy, that I showed you when I took you out there that one time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we one of my son's friends asked me to check her house out. She was renting this little place, very tiny little house, probably no more than 900 square feet, so pretty easy to investigate something that's so small. But she had a story where she said that things were missing. She'd bring groceries home. She was living there by herself. Bring groceries home, unpack her groceries, or start to unpack her groceries, and then she would go to finish, and stuff was gone. It had just vanished, and for some bizarre reason, it was always packages of Oreo cookies would completely vanish. And so we kind of took that as, with a grain of salt, like what ghost wants Oreo cookies, right? But we agreed to check the house out, and she is so freaked out living in that place that she had packed up and left. So when we went to check the place out, there was 2 weeks left on her lease, so she still had the keys. So the house was absolutely empty. We unplugged the refrigerator. The refrigerator was the only thing in the house that was still running, so there was no furniture whatsoever with the exception of the stove and the refrigerator. And we unplugged the refrigerator. And we sat there and we did some EVPs and things for a while. And the oddest thing, though, was when we were playing back, listening to it later, there was the sound of a grandfather clock chiming in the house, and it was so loud that it whipped the headphones off your ears because it hurt. It was so loud. And in a house of 900 square feet, somebody would have heard that. We would have heard that. It was the most amazing thing to hear that sound. So that was pretty cool. We were very excited about that. And we set up, we brought a package of Oreo cookies and opened them and pulled it out slightly, set it on the counter, put a camera on it, and said, well, here's your Oreo cookies. And we left the house for about half an hour, 40 minutes. We walked across the street to a friend's house and sat there and drank coffee for 40 minutes while his camera ran in the house. So there was absolutely nobody in that house. The place was locked up tight. We could clearly see the entrance, so we would be able to tell if anybody was coming or going from the house where we were sitting. We went back at the end of the half hour, 40 minutes or so we were there, and ran the tape. And in the audio, you can hear the Oreo cookie package being manipulated. You could hear the crackling of the plastic. You could hear the cookies being moved around in the plastic. And the and so my first thought would be mouse, but the camera showed absolutely nothing there. Nothing but the cookies the whole time, yet you can hear the cookie package being moved around and manipulated. It was really exciting. Still not proof, but really exciting.
I just want to jump in there for one quick second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How do you think that happens, where you're hearing something happen, like that cookie package rattling and rustling, and we all know that sound, and yet you have a camera right there, and it's capturing nothing?
Exactly. That was so interesting about the whole thing, was that it clearly wasn't a mouse. So that would have been, like I said, that was my first thought when I heard it, said it must be a mouse. It was it had come out while we were gone and was eating the cookies. But you can't see anything. You can see the package moving, but you can't see anything moving it. All you can see is the package, and all you can hear is the rustling. It was really, really cool, but I can't explain it.
That one would have been cool to put like baby powder or talc powder all over the table to see if there was any movement from that. Did you get any other audio with it?
No, it was on a counter, the kitchen counter. It wasn't on the table. There was no furniture in the house whatsoever. So it was sitting on the counter. And there was lots of audio going on. You could hear whispering from time to time. You could actually hear somebody touching the camera at one point as well. The camera kind of wobbled a little bit, and you could hear contact being made on the camera, but it was behind the camera, not in front of it. So we couldn't see anything. You could just see the camera wobble. But it was very fascinating. She won't move back.
No. Do your current houses...
there's new people. Pardon me?
Do your current houses have guests in them as well?
From time to time, but I think they're just passing through. They don't seem to be staying. So I'm not too worried about it.
When you guys started your opportunity and start thinking of joining a paranormal investigation group, what led you to that decision to join up with Edmonton Paranormal Society, Kathy?
Well, because we did the public meetings, it allowed me to get to know the team members that were already that were before my time, before I got a chance to join. So it was nice hearing their experiences. When you think of the paranormal, I mean, well, not so much anymore, but we're looking, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, people's first thought was, okay, these people are going to be wearing tinfoil on their heads, right? Like, it's a common misperception. So I was very leery about going to a public meeting to begin with, mostly because of that, because I thought, oh my God, what am I going to be listening to? I really had no idea. But then because they were once a month, and they were on the first Saturday of every month, and it just became a routine. You got to know these people, and you got to realize, like, hey, these are pretty cool people. These are normal people in every type of job, and so I'm sorry, what was your question? What made me join Edmonton?
Absolutely.
So when they asked if I was interested in becoming an investigator, I absolutely took it right away. And I don't know. I know that there are a lot of teams, in Edmonton, but I'm sure that they're all, got their very good qualities and everything. But Edmonton Paranormal seemed to fit. I really liked the one thing I really enjoyed getting to know the investigators that were already on the team is there was no set religion or ideology behind them. It was just a curiosity. And there was actually, and even now, there's, several religions, but all being able to come together to form one idea or one theory, or, just to help people. And that was the only goal, was just to help people that had experiences the same as we did, and being able to shed some light and being able to investigate. We never, it was never, we've never been one for, tricks or tools or anything like that. We never brought in Ouija boards. It was always, it was a matter of respect. That's what it was. I really liked the respect that the team brought to each investigation that we always went to. And we just continued to carry that respect, whether it's for the living or the dead.
Sherry, what about yourself? What made you decide that the paranormal was something you needed to investigate?
I think it was to try to get some sort of explanation for the things that I experienced as a child and continue to experience as an adult. I really wanted to know what was going on. I joined for the same reasons that Kathy did, to find other people outside of my own family who had these experiences so that I didn't feel like I was losing my grip on reality. But yeah, it was just it's that drive to understand. There must be a reason, and if you can't find the physical reason for the things that are going on, then you've got to look at the paranormal reasons. And when you're looking at that, you also want to know how. Like, how are they communicating? Why are they communicating? Are they even communicating? There's just so many questions, and I want to know the answers. So it's why I still do it. I haven't found that one thing that absolutely I can show to the whole world. This is it. This is really happening, and conclusive proof. And that's my goal, is hopefully to find that someday.
What is your most compelling piece of evidence, going off of what you were just saying?
Most compelling piece of evidence. I guess probably what happened in the house with my sister and I when that attic trapdoor was pulled out of the nails that had nailed it to the base. And taking it to the other side of the house up against a wall. That to me was, I've never been able to get that out of my head, because there is no physical explanation for that at all. And I've gone over it over and over and over again. And even when my grandpa finally calmed down to the point where he realized that we could not have done that, my sister and I could not have pulled that off. We talked about it for years afterwards, trying to figure out how that could have happened, and there is no explanation. None. So that would be the one for me.
Interesting. And now you guys, Edmonton Paranormal, are you guys a TAPS team? TAPS family?
Yes.
Yes, we have. Yes, we are.
Oh, cool. How long have you guys been TAPS for, or affiliate?
Since 2012, I believe. 2012, 2013, we joined. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been 4 or 5 years now, for sure.
I have a question for that.
Something like that, yeah.
Why join? Why not stay rogue?
Well, the one thing with TAPS is you always have, because there's so many international members, there's occasionally the case that you come across where you're stumped, and it's nice to hear you've got 2,000, other investigators across the world that bring a different perspective or a different outlook to it, and it's all very respectful. I like the fact that TAPS on a general basis doesn't use mediums. We do have people that are sensitive on our team, for sure, but it's not the priority of our investigations. So we don't have people coming in going, this is what I sense, or this is what I feel, on a general basis. We try to just present the facts of what it is, of what we believe is going on, of what we can capture through audio or video, as opposed to it being on a psychic level.
I like the fact that...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
You've got this networking. I like the networking as well, like she said, and the fact that we could go to the States and meet up with other team members and be able to investigate areas that have history that we don't, because like you said, we're a fairly young country in comparison. So there are places that we can go down in the States that have the reputation, and we can go and go with these other teams and have new experiences.
Oh, there's so much I want to... I'm sorry as well. Let's just have a Canadian sorry fest here. There are so many questions I have for you right now, because I have to say I am quite a skeptic when it comes to paranormal teams. Never mind the paranormal. I believe the ghosts more than the teams. And I do have a bunch of questions that I am going to ask you right after. I know Mike's going to ask you as well.
Okay.
But in about 60 seconds or less, how haunted is Edmonton?
On a general basis,
that haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, individually as far as homes go, you get your fair amount, but as a city itself, I would probably say it's not overly haunted. No, I'd have to agree with Sherry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is Vegreville haunted?
My relatives out of this. Leave my relatives out of this.
Hey, Dave, I'm as Ukrainian as you are.
I know.
I would agree Vegreville is haunted.
You know what? I would like to go to the old bar there where my grandfather used to drink back in the day. I haven't been to Vegreville in like 40 years. And nobody will know who we're talking about in the town we're talking about, Vegreville, but you do know, everybody knows Vegreville because there's a big Ukrainian Easter egg that could survive any type of North Korean nuclear holocaust at any point. So that's what all Canadians and us Ukrainians are doing. The minute that bomb is dropped, we're all rushing to the Easter egg, no matter where we are. That's our congregating spot. That's our safe spot. And on that note, we're going to hop out for our first break of the night. You're listening to Ghosts of the Great White North. Tonight we are talking with Sherry Moore and Kathy Rogers from Edmonton Paranormal Society in Edmonton, Alberta. Go Oilers, go. We've got to beat them Sharks. We'll be back right after this.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
The third Monday of every month, Spaced Out Radio is going to bring you a different look at everything paranormal. Welcome to The Reporters. Jim Mallard, Vanessa Hogel, Denise Garcia, and Christina George join me, Dave Scott, for a look at the weird and strange from the other side of the microphone. We'll break down ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, and the people investigating them. The paranormal media has never been heard like this. Come listen to The Reporters.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Hey, this is Canadian paranormal investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report, and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit. And expect a miracle.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio Live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton is going to join us from Las Vegas. Yes, the Rebel Planet is back. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about the media and fake news tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Hey, tomorrow is also the 2nd anniversary of Carl at My Window. So we're going to be talking about Carl a little bit tomorrow as well. Damn Carl the alien. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. Hey, we want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans in over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us. We love being live on KTLK, The Fringe FM. We are brand new, night number 2 with them. Good to have you with us. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Theriomorphosis. Theriomorphosis is your password for tonight, Space Travelers. Use it wisely, as Bill sets it each and every night on this show, except last night when his wife Katie did it, but that's okay. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to chat with me as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also tune us in on TuneIn, download this show and others on iTunes. We're also on RadioGuide.fm, TalkStream Live, and on Stitcher. Our website is SpacedOutRadio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Read up on the encounter online while you are there, and head over to Patreon.com. For as low as $1 a month, you can be a patron of Spaced Out Radios. Ghosts of the Great White North is the topic tonight. We do this topic with Mike Morin from Canadian Paranormal Investigations, the third Wednesday of every month. Tonight we are joined from the Edmonton Paranormal Society in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Kathy Rogers and Sherry Moore. Ladies, welcome back.
Thank you.
Hello.
All right. Right before the break, I'm just going to put the warning out there. Don't, whatever you do, please don't use the word science. If you want to set me off, do not use the word science.
It's Dave's trigger word.
That is my trigger word for the paranormal because see, here at Space Out Radio, we have an actual scientist on our team, and right. I am a firm belief that nothing. Absolutely 100% zero any paranormal group does or cryptid group does is scientific. We may do the research, we may do the investigation, but it's not science. So I'm just begging, please don't use the word science. Not tonight. I'm having a good night, you know. And and we're all Oilers fans here, except Mike. He cheers for the Canucks. You know, so we just have to. Yeah.
I hate hockey.
Oh, well, was that Sherry who said that? I'm sorry, we have a bad we have a bad connection right now.
Oilers did fantastic in their last game.
We have a bad connection.
Like Dave?
Oh, you shush, Mike. You shush.
Yeah. No, I'm a hurling fan. Hurling. That's violent. There's lots of blood and guts and injuries and it's good. Nobody needs to wear padding. It's actually, I love hurling.
Absolutely. Sounds a lot of fun. Yes. Anyways, continuing with the paranormal investigation, you did mention that you are a part of the TAPS family, which is spread right across the world, and good on them for trying to take over the paranormal like that. And it gives you access to get your information going on that. What is your opinion then? And this question comes from Jeff in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what he is asking is, besides being able to share your information, what benefits do you as a team receive from being a part of TAPS?
Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Well, again, you know, it's the networking. It's having, you know, it is being able to share your information. It's not mandatory. Our investigations are our investigations. We never have to, you know, share anything with the TAPS family if we don't want to. I would have to say it's probably the networking. It actually, you know, because of the TV show, and not just Ghost Hunters, but all of the paranormal TV shows that have come out in the last 10 years. The one thing that we have to, no matter what anybody thinks about the shows, is the one thing that we have to do is, you know, we have to acknowledge the fact that they really did bring the paranormal away from being that crazy element to this is things that people experience all over the world. And whether it's through Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures or any other paranormal show, these people have done their research, you know, and Ghost Hunters themselves, the TAPS team, I mean, they were Ghost Hunters long before, you know, it became cool and before they came on TV. Their experience is very knowledgeable as far as what the paranormal, you know, investigations go. So it's always nice to have that, it's just a learning curve for not only our team, but for other teams that are out there, whether they're part of TAP's family or not. There's always a new way to learn something, whether it's old school or maybe it's a new piece of equipment that's come out. It's being able to have that knowledge, and people that have, just for instance, getting a new piece of equipment, it's nice to be able to talk to not just one or two people that have used that equipment, but maybe thousands that have used that equipment, as opposed to, just a couple. And it's nice to hear their experiences. It's nice to hear the international side of it as well. I don't have access to teams in Australia. I probably could through Facebook. But this actually is, these are people that do investigations on a regular basis. They have, TAPS does have, I would say, kind of not a strict code as to particularly how investigations are done, but kind of an ethical code. And I like the way that they do their investigations. So it's nice to be able to talk to another team across the world that is going to be investigating in a similar style as to what you do, but having different experiences, maybe using different equipment, different everything, different cultures. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the benefit for us anyway. And plus, we've met some amazing people, amazing people. So that I can't, that experience in itself is just so worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you find that being part of that big group that they like to call the TAPS family, that there is some kind of common goal as to what you are trying to find? Because a lot of people out there will actually look at it and they will say something along the lines that realistically, we're playing with ghosts. We're not actually trying to solve any type of mystery as to what is going on. What's your opinion?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure what point you're trying to make. Like looking for proof, or what was your...
Let's face it. I'll put it this way: there's mysteries that need to be solved. That's why we're in this. Am I correct?
Right.
Right.
Yes. Absolutely.
What is the goal with TAPS? Never mind the individual group of what you're doing, but with TAPS, because we haven't had a lot of TAPS people on here, what is the goal that they are trying to solve?
Oh, I think the goal that they're trying to solve, to be honest, is allowing, again, it has to do with networking, but I mean, since Ghost Hunters went onto the air, they were contacted by thousands and thousands and thousands of people that, emailed them saying, look, we're having this issue. What do we do? And so being part of the TAPS family, I mean, it just allows that expansion for people to have a team to go to that they know. TAPS just doesn't bring on anybody. Like, they do have, their regulations in order before you can become a TAPS member. So people are reaching out to the TAPS team simply for the fact of, okay, these people probably have a general idea of what they're doing. They're not just we're not a new group. I mean, Edmonton alone, I don't know exactly how many paranormal teams are out there, but some are only a week old, some are maybe years old, right? But people are reaching out to other people that may not have the experience that a lot of the TAPS teams do. It's not, you can't just be a brand new team and join TAPS. You have to have, so much experience and et cetera, et cetera. Plus, not only that, but they also do background checks so that the people that you're bringing into your house, they're not going to be a criminal. They're not going to have a criminal record. We're all checked. And, that's an element of security and safety for the clients right there. Right. Mm-hmm. And like I said, they're not brand new teams. They're not just a group of people that, let's investigate ghosts and, we're going to help these people solve something and bring in our Ouija boards and our troll dolls and shake them around and do a rain dance. You know, like these teams are walking in with experience and knowledge, and they've probably talked to already hundreds or thousands of people in regards to the paranormal, or done, you know, X amount of cases. So I think that in itself is why I'm proud to be part of TAP.
So would you guys... Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, does TAPS funnel investigations to you from, like, wherever they're situated out of? Like, say if someone contacts TAPS through email, do they look you guys up in Edmonton and send you the info?
It's a local one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Usually they may contact just a team. You know, that some people don't realize that there's TAPS teams all over. They may contact their main email. Sometimes they contact us directly through the contact forms on the TAPS site. Sometimes we're forwarded emails from, you know, somebody might be in Grand Prairie, which is, you know, 5 or 6 hours away, and they don't realize that the Edmonton team would be the one that would be taking care of that, so they might, you know, email another team that's fairly close by. But usually, you know, it's emailed to us, or they might contact us directly, yeah.
What do you guys do with your evidence?
Store it.
Yeah, just stash it.
Yeah.
Share it sometimes with other people. It depends on where the evidence came from. There are some people whose places we've investigated that don't want anyone to know about it. They're not interested in it getting out, so to speak. So it's kept private, as according to their wishes. We just sit on it.
There's a question. Oh, you go. Sorry, Dave, you go.
Yes. Why just sit on it? You might be sitting on something valuable.
Yeah, but it's not ours to share. These people that are living in, you know, these houses that things are happening. But if it's their evidence, it's their privacy, and if they don't want that shared, then we don't. It's up to the client that we're dealing with to decide what to do with it.
So do you send spirits to the other side?
No, we don't do cleansing. If somebody's interested in having a cleansing, we have a good relationship with the pagan community. We can definitely bring somebody in, but I think there's only been maybe one case where we were actually a part of that cleansing, but that's usually out of our hands. We kind of actually have a policy where we really don't participate or believe in cleansings or moving things to the other side. We kind of have the general group thought process that there's a reason why things are there. And if somebody, and here, okay, well, I'm going to get really deep on this one. We actually have our general thought process for the Edmonton Paranormal community, or the Edmonton Paranormal Society, is there's a reason why something is there. And, you know, we don't just deal with the haunting itself, but we tend to deal more with the family and the cause of why this activity is happening. And, you know, if I bring it back to, you know, when I look at the house that I was living in with my daughters, you know, I know the family that had lived there previous and nothing ever happened. So why is it when we move in, you know, all hell breaks loose? Well, what's happening? What's happening within the home? I'm stressed, you know, I got all this stuff going on. The house is in, or my own brain, I guess, was in disarray, you know. So when you look at those sort of things, you try to get to, we're not psychologists, we don't claim to be doctors or anything, you know, we're not anything. But for the most part, there's a reason why this activity is kicking up, and that's what we tend to look at. And so that would probably be the best breakdown that I can give. But we tend to take all of it in. We don't just look at the paranormal. We tend to look at, okay, why is this happening now? As opposed to why didn't it happen 5 years ago? What's going on within the family? What's going on within the home? What's going on with individuals? As opposed to it just being about the paranormal. Because you can bring somebody in to cleanse a home, but if the same behavior process is going on within the home, a cleansing isn't going to do anything. It's just going to come right back. And sometimes in a good portion of cases, it comes back even stronger. And I don't know how many times we've received emails from somebody where we've gone and done an investigation, and they're like, we've given them suggestions as to how to, let's say, calm the paranormal, or at least bring them to a point where they can kind of ignore, what's going on. And the more you ignore it, the more it's kind of going to dissipate or go away. And they'll say, well, we don't want to do that. We want to bring in a cleanser. Okay, well, go ahead. We'll even help them out. We'll give them some names or whatever. But, I would say probably 80 to 90% of the time, we're usually getting a phone call or an email a month later saying, okay, can we have those suggestions again? Because everything is worse than what it was before. Because if the things aren't changing within the home, the things aren't going to change.
But
cleansing isn't going to do anything.
But how are you changing things if all you're doing is following the TAP's way of doing things by proving a haunted house is haunted? That doesn't prove anything.
But we don't always have to follow. But we don't have to follow. We follow, as far as TAPS goes, we follow the ethics of it in the extent of, like, we don't use mediums or psychics. We also we don't charge our clients. So those are the two main TAPS requirements. Okay, so no matter where we're going within the province, there's no charge to the client whatsoever, and we also don't. We can give names of people that if they want a reading or a psychic reading, or if they want a cleansing, but we don't promote them. We can give them names to help them out, but that's the rest of it is out of their hands. They can use whoever they want. But those are the two main things as far as TAPS is concerned. So how we handle our investigations on the other side of it, how we do it, that doesn't have to be, there's no TAPS protocol. As far as that goes, every team is going to have their particular way of doing an investigation. It's not, A, B, C, D, E, F. It doesn't. You don't have to follow that. Every team is going to do their own way. But, there are certain ethics within the TAPS community that they stick with.
Why not mediums?
We have a lot of.
Why not mediums? And the reason why I ask that is using a medium is the same thing as using a K2, an Ovilus, a FLIR camera. Why would you eliminate that tool?
Because you can bring 5 mediums in to one house, and you're going to get 5 different responses. That's what we found on a general basis. And, you're going to have every medium works on a different level. So some might work within the family unit, and they might be picking up the energy of the individual members of the family. Some might work on a different level where they're dealing with the spirits. Some are going to be dealing, we've run across mediums where, they're trying to tell people that, they've got the devil himself in the house. We don't want our clients scared like that. 99% of the time, you're never going to run across, a demonic, right? So when you're dealing with a medium, you're dealing with an unpredictable, source, really, because, like I said, you could bring 10 mediums in, and they're all going to have a different response. So how do you look at your client and say, well, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and look at the psychics and count them out. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to choose I'm going to pick your deduction, right? At least when you have the audio and the video, or even a K2 meter, to some degree, something is going to make that K2 meter move, whether it's an electrical current or whatever it is currently going on. I mean, it's up to us to, also figure it out. We use the audio and the video to try to determine what that was. But when you're using a medium or a psychic, like I said, you're getting an unreliable response, because there's really, unless they're picking up on something that can be verified by the clients themselves, or unless you can verify it through the records archive, like the archive records or anything like that, then maybe you have, something to go on. But, again, still, it's going to be slightly unreliable.
Yeah.
I'm going to pleasantly disagree with you on that. And the reason the reason why I'm going to say that is because technology fails. Technology can lie depending on battery power. And I think if anybody does their homework with a medium, they would be able to find one, rather than bringing 5 or 10 into a location. They would be able to find one that has a credibility to be accurate. So in that sense, then, do you not believe in psychic mediums? Or do you believe that they should just be staying away from ghost hunting adventures?
No, funny enough, here's the thing, is I actually have a lot of psychic abilities, and Sherry's quite reliable too, and, in what she picks up and senses. But unfortunately, like when I'm in a house, when I'm on an investigation, I may pick up on something, and it's something that we can look into, but it's also, again, unless we're going into the archives, or we're going into, we know the history of the home, or we know the history of the client, really it's just something coming out of my mouth. And I might pick up that intuition or that psychic sense from a variety of things. It could be anything. So really, when you're basing your investigation on what it is that I'm saying, or any of our, investigators, it's something to go on, but that's pretty much where we have to, then that's where the audio, the video, and whatever other tools we use
So
take over.
Do you, either of you then trust your intuition with what you get?
Oh, absolutely I do.
So
but
why
it's
not use
enough.
it? Why not use it to your advantage? Think about it here, because and I'm not trying, I'm just trying to get a picture of this, okay? And forgive me. I'm going to go Canadian here. I'm sorry. But you have this intuition, you trust your intuition, but you refuse to do it because you're trying to do unscientific studies on something that really has no scientific basis, because you are not conducting in a scientific manner. So why not use the intuition to your benefit?
I guess what we tend to, we do use our intuition, absolutely, but I think that it's part of just like the rest of the tool bag, so to speak, that we use. For one thing, we would never go into someone's house and say, I sense the spirit of a murdered boy or something like that. Anything that we pick up or anything that we think we sense, we keep to ourselves until the investigation is completed, and then we pool our resources and go through everything and try to decide whether or not this is really what we're dealing with. I mean, these people are usually afraid when they're asking you to come into their home to help sort out what the issues are. And I think the last thing a lot of them want to hear, in fact, it's been our experience that the last thing they want to hear is that you see some spooky thing walking down the hallway. they want to know, but they don't want to know. So we keep that kind of information to ourselves as the investigation is ongoing, and then we pool our resources at the end. We come together and decide what is probably what we're looking at, and then take that to them and sit down and talk to them about it that way. If they still want to have a full-fledged medium come into their house, then there are a few people we trust to do that, including Kathy. I trust Kathy. But it's the package. Like I said, it's part of the tool bags. It's all part of the same. It's a conglomeration of everything that we do. It's not the one thing. It's a conglomeration of everything we do. Does that make even sense? I don't know if I'm even making sense.
It's kind of like if I went in and I picked up on something, unless there's a way that we can actually verify it, it really doesn't. And again, once, like Sherry was saying at the end, when we look at all the audio, we look at all the video, we go through everything. We go to the archives. We check out as much as we can. And that's when we can make a determination as to what's going on. But I would never go into a house and say, I sense this or I sense that. Because not only, A, would it possibly put a fear into the clients, but B, we're not there to do a psychic reading on them. We're there to do an investigation. And in order to do an investigation, you got to investigate all of the factors that are going on, not just what the medium is picking up, or not just what a video camera is picking up or an audio camera. So very rarely do we even really let a client know that, yes, we have sensitives on the team. It's not that we're trying to keep it a secret. We just don't want the investigation to be revolved around a medium or a psychic or anything else. And honestly, if we do use that tool, it's just part of being the tool, or part of that toolkit. It's not a main element. It's not anything else. It's just a little part of that toolkit, no more than a screwdriver, and you have to use all of the tools in order to make a proper determination of an investigation.
I totally get that. Like with my team, what we do is we use a psychic, and we'll get there with our team, and she'll be the first. She'll start. We'll let her go do her thing throughout the house or wherever we're investigating. She'll write everything down and give it to the lead investigator or give it to me, and then she stays quiet the entire rest of the investigation. She'll help with EVP sessions and all that. And then so we get the quote-unquote spiritual side done. Then we get the gear stuff done. And then we leave as a team, compile it all, and then regurgitate it to our client. That's just how we use our medium.
That's exactly how we use it. Yeah. That's exactly the way that we conduct an investigation. We have found, first of all, and this is nothing, meaning to be derogatory in any way towards clients, but we have found that once they know that there's a medium on the team, it's not only just a matter of the investigation, but usually the medium is crippled with questions of everything. And then it actually turns away from the investigation, as opposed to, again, that medium just being part of a tool. It's just not the way that we would conduct an investigation whatsoever. And like I said, we have used mediums, like, don't get me wrong, but we've also seen, not particularly even on cases, but just like, we were talking about, you really have to test a medium, and you don't want your clients in any way scared, right? We're there to do an investigation as to what's going on. Our goal is to help calm the clients, make them feel comfortable in their house. They want to, the goal of every client is to be able to live in their house, right? They want to be comfortable, whether there's a spirit there or not. I mean, people just want to be at home. They want to live in their house. They want to feel safe, and that's our goal. So we just, the last thing we want is a medium going in and saying, oh, I feel this or I feel that. It's just not the way we do it.
I'm sorry, I'm baffled here still, and I'm going to be honest with you. It's the first time in a long time on this show that I actually had to crack a beer during the show. Okay, and the weird part about that is I don't drink very often, but no, I'm teasing here. But explain to me, like I'm a 7-year-old again. How are you helping if you're not there to solve anything?
It's not that they're not there to solve anything. Of course, we take the evidence. We take all of the evidence and we go through everything. And then we go back to the client. In the meantime, we do have a case manager that speaks directly to the client in order to, talk them through the investigation. So if we take an investigation on a Friday night, they may have activity on Saturday. The case manager can talk to them. We spent hundreds of hours on the phone talking to clients, whether because they're scared or they're curious or whatever it is. But we can't, until we can actually go through all of the evidence and everything that we gather on that investigation, we can't really give you a determination until we go through it all. But then we go back and we sit with the client for a long period of time and talk to them, and we present everything that we've gathered and go from there. And we give them, suggestions and ideas and things to help make them feel safe.
Okay, so then take me through it. My house is haunted. You come on in, you do your investigation, and you come back after you've gone through the evidence. What happens?
Okay, well first of all,
their house really is haunted. If their house really is haunted, then we will sit down with them and try to come up with ways for them to cope with what they're living with. And it's not just a one-off. Quite often we're going back and helping them for months afterwards. And things, they do get sorted out. Either whatever's living there moves on, or they learn to live with each other. It's all we've had pretty good success.
Yeah.
With
we
our
have some tips and tricks that we give people. Some ideas that it helps calm down the paranormal activity within their house. And one of the things that Sherry and I especially, we always tell people, a house is only 4 walls. So when you're in a house and you're constantly talking about the paranormal, or you're jumping every time something happens within the house, you're just increasing the energy of the paranormal. So we suggest take it outside. And this is just one tip that we'll give to people is when you have to talk about the paranormal, take it outside. If something happened in your home that afternoon, take it outside and talk about it. You don't need to talk about it in the house because that just increases the energy level within the house. So take it outside.
We also have noticed, though, that especially in the investigations, that the majority of the cases we come across are not paranormal issues at all. They're explainable. We had one guy who said that something stands beside his bed at night and breathes cold on him, and his bed is right by the window. And I put my hand on the wall, and it was ice cold. The wall is cold. The insulation was non-existent. There was ice on the inside of his window. So we suggested he just move his bed to the other side of the room. Problem solved, because there was nothing standing there breathing on him. It was just bad insulation and bad house construction.
We actually,
Hold on. How do you know? How do you know it's bad house construction? Do you have a contractor on your team?
No, but I mean, if you're standing in front of a window and you can feel a draft coming through then that would explain why someone's breathing cold air on you at night, right? I mean, it's common sense. And when he moved his bed, that was the end of it. He never had any more ghostly experiences because he never had any ghostly experiences to begin with. Do you see what I'm saying?
Shut your windows, people. Shut your windows.
We actually had a house out just out of town, just outside of Edmonton, and it was in a small little community. And there was three or four separate families that had lived there that had all complained about the same issue. And what was happening is they were starting to get headaches, they were feeling sick to their stomach, they were seeing black shadows, and then they usually moved in as a couple, or, you know, a couple with kids. And by the time that they moved out, it was like one person leaving and you know, and ending in a divorce. So we actually got a call from the landlord saying, look, we don't know what's going on, but we've had, you know, 3 or 4 separate tenants that have moved in, and this is the experiences that they've had. So we went to the house, and almost as soon as we were walking up, you know, the front lawn, you just feel like this shaking on the inside. And within 10 minutes within the house, I was actually having a pounding headache. I don't remember how Sherry was feeling at that time, but we went, we did use the K2 meter, and we went around and we checked the house, and we went into the basement, and there was this massive bundle of wires that was just this collection. It was like a bird's nest of wires. And we held the K2 meter up to that, and the gauge just went right off the chart. And, you know, we suggested to them, like, before we can even really do an investigation, like, the EMF in this house is mind-blowing. Like, you were sitting on the couch and you were just shaking, you know, it was just that experience that you were getting. And I thought, you know, if somebody's living here on a regular, like, somebody's living here, well, you know, if I'm experiencing this within an hour, I can't even imagine what on a daily basis this would do to you, especially if you have no knowledge of EMF or you know, any of this type of experience before. So we suggested to the landlords, okay, you know what, get an electrician in there first. And if these things still continue, by all means, we'll come back and we'll do an investigation, but we can't even really stay in the house. And this was all of our team members that were experiencing this. We can't do an investigation under these circumstances, like right now. So they brought an electrician in, and he went and took a look, and he said, look, they're actually like one spark away from a full-fledged house fire going on here. So they changed over the electrical system, and we said, okay, give it a couple of weeks, you know, and see what's going on. And we talked to the landlord about a month later. They gave her a call, and she goes, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. So really all of these apparent paranormal experiences were really being brought on by the high EMF that was in the home. And,
I'm going to ask if... Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, since then, too, is that they... I'm sorry?
Mike, ask the question, darn it. That's
Sorry,
that's why you're my partner here, man. You're my partner here. I needed to pick up some game.
I didn't want to cut them off. They're talking. Natasha Dawn Webster has a question. Is there anything that would cause you guys at Edmonton Paranormal to leave an investigation?
If the clients were drug addicts, or or seem to be, if the clients themselves seem to be dangerous. But no, so far that would be the only consideration that we would have. We've never left an investigation so far that we felt unsafe, but it would depend on the people we're meeting. If they seem dodgy, then no, then we would leave.
And Ron has a question. How hard is it to find a place to investigate? What are the common misperception you encounter? Sorry, I can't read.
You broke up on that one, my friend. I'll get to that one. Ron wants to know, and now I got to scroll back and get it here, because Mike's in just learning how to read these days. See, here in BC, we just learn this stuff. Let me get it here. Ron's question is, how hard is it to find a place to investigate? And what are the common misperceptions you encounter?
As far as personal residences? Oh, go ahead, Sherry. You go ahead.
I was just going to say the most common misperception I think we hear is that everything is a demon.
Yeah.
It's just automatically people watch too much TV, I think. And everything, oh my God, I got a demon in my house. That is the first thing that comes out of people's mouths most of the time. That's the biggest one, I think. I've never done anything demonic.
Do you guys cleanse yourself, like with sage or Palo Santo wood or anything like that before or after investigations?
I carry crystals with me for myself personally. And that's just for me personally. I think everybody has their own, if they do cleanse themselves or protect themselves, they all have, each member on the team kind of has their own way of doing what makes them feel secure, safe. For me personally, I carry crystals. Sherry, I'm not sure what you do.
I just wrap myself in a bubble, and nothing can get through the bubble. One of our team members imagines himself as a knight with a shield in front, and does it that way. Everybody has their own way of protecting themselves. I haven't needed to use it, I don't think, yet. I haven't met anything nasty yet, so not yet. Anyway, there's a couple places in Edmonton where nasty lives, but they don't allow us in there unless we have $600 or $700 to spend.
I have an interesting question. I have a question from Heather coming through here. Heather is asking, so what do you tell your clients if they think it's a demon? Because right now, let's face it, that is the popular word of the paranormal these days.
Well, we tell them that we'll go through the investigation and let them know whether or not we think that it's a demon. It usually, it's just not. But if they're that convinced, and usually there's the religious background to get them in that mindset, if they're that convinced, then we will suggest that they get a priest or a member of their particular religion that they believe in to come in and bless the house. And usually that is enough to convince them that something's been done. But like I said, I think sometimes people watch too much TV and they're really the demonic. But then that's just my own personal belief. I don't believe in demons. So that's my own personal belief. I think that if you do believe in demons, that it can enhance your own experience and color your perception of what's really going on. But that's, like I said, that's my personal experience or personal opinion on that. I don't believe in them. So I don't see them. I don't experience them.
Have you guys ever taken home an attachment?
We did on one case. It was actually a really interesting case. It was one of my very first cases, actually, and it was a really interesting story. We were in this, again, it was like a subdivision of Edmonton. It's a little city just outside of Edmonton, and we had gone there, and it was the typical haunting, doors opening, dark shadows, et cetera, et cetera. But we got home that night, and oh gosh, like this was several years ago, so I'm trying to remember everything that exactly happened. But I remember I was at the top of my stairs, and it felt like somebody actually just pushed me from behind. And thankfully, I have one of those little landings, so you go down 3 stairs, and then you got the landing, and then you got the full set of stairs. Thankfully, I was at the top of the first, the 3 sets, the top of the 3, and I felt like it was just like these hands behind my back, and they just pushed me, and I kind of flew into the wall. And at first, I thought, okay, well, I tripped, but then, you're trying to figure out, well, how did I feel? Like I felt I was pushed, right? And I broke my toe. It was like something, I was walking in my living room, and it was like there was nothing there, and then all of a sudden there was a bench there, and I ended up like smacking my toe into it, because it was almost like it just appeared. But, all these things, you're kind of thinking, okay, that's crazy, right? But then we had a couple other investigators that were just, getting hurt. And it was just, crazy little things. Like one of our investigators, she says like she normally sleeps like a rock, so she doesn't move. But she woke up this one morning, and the bed sheets were literally wrapped around the bottom of her feet. So she went to get up out of bed, not thinking, wasn't paying attention, and actually landed on her face, because the bed sheets were just wrapped around the bottom of her feet. So it was just these little things. And at one point, we're kind of like, what is going on? And we're thinking, did we bring something home with us, right? And at this point in time, this is before we had joined TAPS, it was like, we were still a fairly new group, like probably about a year old. And we did have a medium on the team. But he was picking up on, it was sort of a friend of the family. And as it turned out, this friend of the family he had committed suicide about 3 or 4 months before. And he was sort of protecting this family. And he kept giving these little clues, and it was little clues like within the investigation and things that were going on within the house. And again, using the medium as a part of the tools. But as it turned out, the woman who we were doing the investigation for, her boyfriend, that's what the spirit was trying to protect her from, was from her boyfriend. Turns out that he had told her that he had cancer and was pretending to go for chemotherapy treatments. And basically what he was doing was just sucking her dry on money. So he was lying about the fact that he had cancer, and he was going through all the, doing all the pretending, and this spirit was kind of protecting the family from him. We're kind of given those signs. So when I say that, he came home with us, we think that what he was trying to do was, he thought that we were going to get rid of him by doing the investigation. By coming in, we were going to do an investigation and get rid of him. But that's not our goal. So once he understood what it is that we were doing, we were just trying to figure out what his purpose was there. It was more like he was helping in the investigation for us to discover about this man who was faking the cancer. I hope that made sense.
I've never had a repercussion.
That is scary.
Yeah, I've never.
It was very scary.
I've never had a repercussion at all.
Yeah, but that was the time that we, and I don't believe Sherry was on the team at that point. I think she came on a few months later.
No.
But that was the time that was the one and only time I've ever had an attachment. Yeah, for myself.
Jeff has a question, and Jeff lives in Edmonton as well. And he is asking, have either of you ever attempted to investigate the Charles Camsell Hospital?
Oh, the Charles Camsell.
Because, the Charles Camsell has got quite the reputation, and no, we've never attempted it because none of us want to go to jail. That place is guarded probably probably tighter than the remand center is. You don't get in there, and if you do get in there, you're immediately arrested. So, no.
As soon as they come out. And some people, it's funny because some people will say, well, I got in, and you may have. Chances are they probably are, the guards were kind of either on a coffee break, not caring, but they're not going to go in there with you. Like, the guards are smart enough where they're going, at the time when it was, still, because I don't even think the building is actually even there anymore. But the guards are like, we're not going in. That's just, there's asbestos, there's like, holes in the floor, there's termites. I mean, this place is like a complete disaster. So the guards are like, you guys go ahead and we'll just arrest you on your way out the door. So that's, the Charles Council is kind of one of those, like, people say that they've investigated it. Probably they really haven't,
No, yeah. It's pretty tightly guarded, It's extremely a very dangerous building, and very well guarded, and they don't fool around with trespassers.
Sounds like a place to go. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, I'll be honest with you. I'd be the dude who falls through one of those holes in the floor. That's literally my coordination right there.
That's mine too.
Yeah.
So I've never attempted
Yes. Don't wear heels. It'll be dangerous, ladies. Or men.
Actually,
what you're into.
It's not the holes in the floors that's dangerous about the hospital. It's it took like 5 or 6 years just to clear the asbestos out. So it's just breathing in there that's dangerous rather than just falling through the floor. But it's cleaned out now, but it's definitely well guarded.
Ladies, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we're about a minute away from going to break, and Mike, you hold on as well. Tonight we have Ghosts of the Great White North. This is our feature show that we do on Canadian hauntings. We do it the third Wednesday of every month, and I am joined by Mike Morin from the Canadian Paranormal Investigations, and tonight's guests are Kathy Rogers and Sherry Moore from the Edmonton Paranormal Society, also a member of TAPS. We got 1 hour left on talking ghosts, ghouls, goblins, spirits, mediums, and anything else that goes bump in the night here on Spaced Out Radio. We're having a lot of fun tonight. I hope you are as well. Remember, during the break, make sure you check out spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, and head over to patreon.com for $1 a month. You can become a patron of Spaced Out Radios as well. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large.
I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
A child grew up too fast, went running wild. Now we don't know who to pray to anymore.
Welcome back to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night, we get into fake news. We get into conspiracy. Jamie Sexton will be our guest. The Rebel Planet is back for his monthly feature, the third Thursday of every month. From Las Vegas, Nevada. It's going to be a great show indeed. We get it going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia. We're also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us. We are live in Las Vegas on Renegade Talk Radio, our brand new affiliate, KTLK, the Fringe FM. We're glad to be a part of your nighttime entertainment. And of course, if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Theriomorphosis. Theriomorphosis is your password for tonight. Use it wisely, space travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Hey, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. We're also on RadioGuide.fm, TalkStream Live, as well as Stitcher, if you want to check us out. And our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. We also have the Encounter Online, which I highly suggest you check out and read. And, of course, you also have our sign-up sheet on Patreon, patreon.com. For $1 a month, you can become a patron of Spaced Out Radios. Mike Morin from Canadian Paranormal Investigations is here with us. Sadly, we had to say goodbye to Kathy Rogers and Sherry Moore. They both have early mornings tomorrow, but we thank Kathy and Sherry from the Edmonton Paranormal Society, a family member of TAPS, for joining us for the first 2 hours on Ghosts of the Great White North. Mike, what are you clicking? Seriously.
That's not me. I'm not doing nothing.
Yes, it is. It's coming from your end. There's this clicking sound.
It's my MacBook.
What are you
hitting?
My MacBook. What are you hitting? What is your finger hitting? Right there.
What are you hitting? What are you hitting?
Nothing.
All right.
Right there. It was just right there. Are you tapping
my
something?
MacBook. It has a loud mouse pad.
Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. Anyways, we want to thank Kathy and Sherry from Edmonton Paranormal Society. They were absolutely wonderful tonight. Ghosts of the Great White North is a feature that I do with Mike Morin, the third Wednesday of every month. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You've given me a quick complex, so do I just leave it on and nose breathe?
Yeah. Tell Jeff Webster to stop typing you, man, because I know it's Jeff Webster. I can feel it. My psychic intuition that TAPS won't agree with, that I have it. But my psychic intuition tells me it's Jeff.
There's a strong chance there's a possibility of Jeff.
All right. You know, there's a lot that I think was really good about this show and our guests tonight. But I got to tell you, after listening to the way they were describing TAPS, I have some real concerns.
I was on a TAPS team for 2 years, and they were bang on at that TAPS process of how they work.
Mm-hmm. I was absolutely blown away because, I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a team from TAPS on here before. And I just don't understand. And I had to bite my tongue a few times, not because of who they are. I think Kathy and Sherry are great people. I really do. They were honest. They were legitimate. They were wanting to conduct the investigation the way it should be conducted. But I have some real questions about this TAPS thing. I really do. And
like what?
What's the purpose of the investigation if you're not going to solve anything?
I agree with you. They're more. I like my group. We like to help the clients, right? And you know that we've had that talk. That a lot of the research based science. Your favorite word.
Yeah, but they're not conducting science. Unless you are in a controlled environment to conduct a scientific experiment, nothing you do is scientific. Not a thing. So are they is this TAPS? I'm not talking Edmonton Paranormal Society. I'm talking in general. Is this TAPS thing about debunking? Is it about proving that haunted places are haunted? Because I'm baffled here on where we are trying to go with this. I have no clue where we're trying to go with this. And I don't blame these ladies. They are just trying to confirm or deny, thank you, Shar, what is going on. And I get that. Okay? But if TAPS, and I'm going to use the TAPS example here, just from what I heard of these from Sherry and Kathy, okay? If we are going to go into people's residences where they are scared, where they are being attacked by spirits, or they're freaked out because the cupboards are opening and closing, there's shadow people walking around, confirming or not confirming that does nothing. It does nothing to help people. And if that's what TAPS is all about, then it's exactly what we see on the TV show where they go to all these haunted places and then they confirm whether or not it's haunted. Well, no kidding. No kidding, Carl. That's why we called you. That's why we called you, is because we're having this paranormal stuff. And why the heck is my sensor light keep going off? Maybe Carl is around. I don't know. But anyhow, why are we there? That's my only question that I have for any possible paranormal team out there. You may disagree with me. You may think I'm a jerk for having this opinion. But why are you there if you're not trying to solve anything?
You got no argument for me there, bro. I'm there to help the client and solve what's going on. That's what I do.
Well, I understand your group is like that, and there are plenty of groups out there that do what you do. I mean, recently we had a group from Detroit Paranormal Expeditions on. Todd Bonner and his crew were like that. Their job is to help their client. How are you helping a client if you're not offering solutions? Somebody, please, maybe in one of the chat rooms, or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, explain to me this. How do you help a group? Mike, put your microphone on mute if you're typing. Seriously.
But it'll click.
That's fine. I'll take the click over the typing. But how, somebody explain this to me. How do you, as a paranormal investigator, go into a place to confirm it's haunted when you have no understanding of what you are supposed to be finding to help the client? You have no resolution. And number 3, you sit on the evidence and do nothing with it. Because we did ask them, what do you do with your evidence? We store it. What are you storing it for? There are questions, people, to be answered in regards to this. Questions to be answered. To be answered through this whole phenomena. And then they have the nerve, not Kathy and Sherry, but TAPS in general, just what I learned from tonight. TAPS in general has the audacity and the nerve to say they're conducting scientific experimentation. Deb wants to know who Mike is. Mike Morin is from the Canadian Paranormal Investigators or Investigations outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. That's who Mike is. Thank you, Deb, for the reality break. I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier, which I did, but that's okay.
That's me.
That's you. Way to show some enthusiasm there, Eeyore.
I know.
I'm fired up, man.
I know you're fired up, bro.
I am really fired up. And trust me, it's not about Kathy and Sherry. I'm sure they're good people. They live in Edmonton. I haven't met anybody bad from Edmonton. You know, they're good people up there. My dad is from that area. And I like my dad. You know, good people in that area. But please, for the life of me, somebody explain why you're going into someone's house to tell them their haunted house is haunted. Great. Oh, but we don't charge. No. We do not charge. Well, thank God for that.
I like using a medium. I think they're fantastic.
Holy cow. What the hell are you doing?
That wasn't me, man.
Dude, we all hear you right now. Are you shuffling on the couch or what?
I moved my glass of root beer.
Oh, I think it was more than that. I think your tummy got in the way.
No farts.
Uh-huh. Anyways, I am fired right up about this. And trust me, now what are you doing?
Nothing.
You were just scraping something along. You are doing something.
I'm staying still. I'm not moving. Done.
Okay, promise?
I'm a frickin' statue.
Okay. All right. Okay, we can hear you eating.
Nope. You just called me fat.
Dude, you should see the gut I'm packing these days. It's terrible. It's terrible.
All right. Anyhow.
All right. I got to go chop some firewood. Get back into shape. Anyways, it wasn't so much, Mike, the whole medium thing. Okay, I can understand and I can relate to some teams not wanting mediums on their team. They're not for everybody. You know, if it's trust issues or whether, like Kathy and Sherry were saying, you know, it's hard to find a good medium that you can trust. And I fully agree with that. I really do. John Porter is not enjoying our show tonight. I apologize, John.
Sorry, John.
But where do you go with this? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where do you go with an investigation? Mike, help me out here. Help me out in regards to trying to formulate a game plan with the paranormal.
In regards to an investigation, for me, it's like I've said, it's about reaching out to the client and trying to solve the problem, not just obtain information and document it. I need to solve the problem, not just stir it up.
So how do we not stir it up?
By following through and try to solve the problem for the people, be it doing the research on the properties, bringing in the mediums, trying different tools, different types of psychics, solve the problem. You could try and, if the spirits want to be crossed over, do it, because that will solve the problem.
Oh, yes. No, I understand that, and I can appreciate that. But when you're formulating a game plan for Canadian paranormal investigations, how do you do it? Like, when you have a place that you're going to investigate, take us from start to finish what you guys do.
What do we do? It depends on the location. Like, sometimes if we have our medium available, she'll come. We figure out the problem, then we try and solve it. So we'll set up our teams, our cameras, all of our fun gear, have it rolling. Then we'll send our medium, our psychic in, and she'll go through all the rooms, document everything, and keep it close to her. And then that's when we will go in and do the technical side, like with the EVPs, using our Obulus, using our K2, using everything we have, your standard gear. And then once we're done the investigation, we'll try and cross-reference each other and connect the dots. And if we can connect the dots, then we will look into the history of the property, the history of the surrounding area, all the different property owners, what could have happened in the area, were there accidents in the area, all that sort of stuff, to why is that place haunted.
No, and I can understand that. I can understand that.
So there's lots of variables to doing it.
So
and you've got to cross everything off your list.
Right. And I understand that you have to have a list. You have to go in with a game plan, okay? And absolutely. And I understand that. But I think I think what I'm getting at here, and I'm a newbie to this whole paranormal investigation thing, and I may be hypocritical because I do run a charity paranormal event once a month. So call me hypocritical because I am doing exactly what I preach shouldn't be done, and that's playing with ghosts and doing a tour. Okay, call me hypocritical with that. I'm okay with that. But I'm not investigating though. That's the difference. I am telling people when we go on the tour, we aren't investigating. We are going down the road of history. And we are trying to tell the story through the spirits that are on the property. But I'm not investigating what we are doing. I'm a tourist attraction. Not me personally, but the tour is. It's a tourist attraction. And that's what we try and do. But Mike, we have people out there who are looking for answers as to what is going on, albeit their home, their place of work, maybe where they are on vacation, maybe in a park that they frequent, wherever it is. How are we supposed to believe what any paranormal team tells us if we don't even know how to investigate?
It's a weird question. Because, we do evidence presentation to clients. We'll show them everything. We'll give them all the audio. We'll give them all the video. We'll give them all the photos. Any evidence we obtain, we give to them, and that's how we prove wherever we are is paranormal to the client. Sometimes we will have nothing and tell them that. But maybe we're the opposite, where we're not going to search the house on why there's a draft. Like, say, if we get no evidence, we're not going to look for the non-paranormal aspect of it.
And I think that's really good. I think that's a good point. Okay, you have to look for the non-paranormal. Like they were explaining on the one side, okay, they were explaining on the one side where they found a draft in the single-pane windows. I get that. I think that is responsible. It's very much responsible. But on the flip side, do you not have to have a set of goals as to what you are trying to solve? And I don't understand, Mike, why for paranormal teams, for the life of me, this is such a hard question to answer. Why can't you tell me what a goal is? I'm not saying you specifically or Canadian Paranormal. I know how you guys investigate. That's why I allow you guys to be a part and affiliated with us, much like you grant us permission to be affiliated with you on a business sense.
Dummy down your question.
What was that? You cut out.
Dummy down your question. Don't use the word goal. Like, re-ask it in a different way.
Well, what should be the goal? That is the question. What should be the finishing aspect of an investigation? To tell me my haunted house that I already know is freaking the crap out of me is haunted? That's what TAPS does.
Dave, your house is haunted. How can we help you fix it? Do you want it fixed? Would you like your house cleansed? Would you like us to cross your spirit over? Would you like to leave the spirit there? How can we help you?
So why is that so hard for so many teams to do?
It's not. That's standard. That's how it should be.
You say it's not hard. But my friend, we just had a great example tonight of a group that's affiliated with this team that is not doing that, and they've got thousands of members across the world. And unfortunately, they're the most popular group in the world. And then they wonder, and then people in the paranormal wonder why the mainstream won't take us seriously. Hey, Mike.
No,
Hey, Mike, why don't we go to the bar for a drink and let's see if let's confirm if there's alcohol there.
Well, that's pretty easy to do.
But that's the example. That's the example this TAPS group is setting. Let's go to a bar and see if there's alcohol there.
Yeah, no, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Let's go to a football stadium on Super Bowl Sunday to see if the Super Bowl is going to be played.
Once you deem that house as haunted, it's like a choose-your-own-adventure novel for the client. What do they want for their property? Do they just want the evidence and be it done with it there, or do they want help solving the problem? That's the options we'll give. And we'll give different options on how to solve the problem.
Catherine James, I see you in the chat room saying, what's your goal with that, Dave? Please enlighten me on that, because I will answer that. Do me that favor. Thank you. This is why I love having my live audience here. They're all over the place. I think it's fantastic. I really do. Mike, why though, and I'm going to ask you this again, why has your group, Canadian Paranormal Investigations, decided to go a different route than many of these other teams? You were a part of... I was a part of a TAPS team, yes. Yeah. Okay. Why change?
Because my mandate is to help the client, not just to do scientific research. People are coming to you for help, so you help them. And that's how I differentiate. And I can't go on an investigation and say it's like a bad haunting and then just leave with evidence. I can't do that. That's not right, just in my head. That's like my personal opinion. Because I'm a helper, a problem solver by trade with my job, and it just spills over into this field. It's probably why I like being in this field. I like helping people and solving problems. I couldn't imagine not solving the problem.
I can't believe that any group would go into someone's house and then not give them the evidence of what was found. I'm allowing you into my house. I am putting trust in you to be with my valuables, my belongings, my personal items. I am giving you that respect, and yet they're not respecting back by showing the evidence.
I'm asking. I'm just asking a TAPS question to a TAPS member just to get some question. But no, they do give evidence to the client.
Maybe I missed that. Catherine's, to expand on Catherine's question, she was asking, when I asked about the bar, if we're going to investigate a bar to see if it has alcohol, her question is, what is your goal after you find the beer? Well, I'm going to drink it, I'm going to analyze it, and then I'm going to debate if it's good enough to have another one. Because literally 2 is my limit. I am a cheap drunk. I am an absolutely cheap drunk. So, that's why I don't drink very well. You know.
There's a handful of members on the chat that have been part of TAPS teams in the past. Just reading it.
Ron is asking, Dave, Scott, I want you and Mike Morin to set up a weekend meet and greet conference. Guess what, Ron? We're doing that. Mike will be speaking. By the way, Mike, I have your time that you were speaking right in front of me.
It's my time, bro. What time is it?
The first annual Spaced Out Radio Paracon will be going in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, September 29th to October 1st. Get your tickets now in advance. Mike will be speaking on the paranormal at 10:30 Saturday morning to 11:45.
Wow, 45 minutes, eh?
What do you mean 45? You got 75 minutes.
Jesus, I got this.
Can you
handle
handle
It'll be fun.
that?
I can't. Yeah, of course. It'll be the best presentation you've seen ever.
I can tell you're stoked with emotion there, man. Stoked with emotion.
Absolutely, I'm excited.
So yes, Ron, and by the way, Ron, it's good to have you back. Ron has been away for a few months, dealing with some family stuff, but he's back in the chat room now, and we missed Ron. But yes, we will have Paranormal, or Paracon happening, the Caribou Paracon, September 29th to October 1st. And in fact, I'm excited about this. We got a good lineup, man. I'll go over that at another day, but we got a good lineup for a first-time event. I mean, if this doesn't get Eric Cooper's beard from Forest Moon Paranormal, if this doesn't get that beard, growing another 2 to 3 inches before this Paracon, I don't know what will. I really don't. It's going to be fun.
Have you officially announced your lineup?
You know what? I'm waiting for 2 people. I've got 2 spots open left. But I can give you a rundown of what's going to happen. The Friday night, let's change topics here for a minute. The Friday night, Lorian Fenton, who was on this show a couple weeks ago, she's coming up from California to talk all things conspiracy. And then we're going to go right into a live version of Spaced Out Radio, because at the place we are holding it, Spruce Hills Resort here in the 108 Mile Ranch, it is a beautiful, beautiful resort. We are actually going to be holding live radio shows for VIPs that are there, so they can come in. They're going to be we're going to have it in a bar, and the bar is going to be rocking. The appies are going to be flowing. People are going to be chatting away, and we're going to do the live show right then and there, which is going to be a lot of fun. And people who are coming will have their choice whether or not they want to catch a live show or take part in the UFO Skywatch that we are going to do, weather permitting, of course, with Samantha Mowat, who all of our regulars here will know who that is. Then Saturday morning, I'm still waiting to fill the morning slot, then you come on, and then there's a lunch break. Then Christina George is going to join us, talking paranormal as well. Then we got a break in the afternoon, because I'm trying to find a British Columbia Bigfoot researcher. Believe it or not, I didn't think it would be that hard.
I found one for you. I got one for you. I'll give you his number tomorrow.
Okay. We may have filled that spot. Can he speak in public, though? That's the main thing.
I'm pretty sure he could.
Well, that's another one. We got to figure that part out. And then
Skywatch, eh? Where's the Skywatch going to be?
Well, considering the property of the resort is like 13,000 acres, literally, it's a big piece of land. 13,000 acres. We have about we have the ability to drive into the property where it's nice and dark. There's not going to be any light whatsoever besides the starlight, and that's where it's going to take place. Weather permitting, of course. And hopefully it's not a full moon, so we'll have to check the calendar on that, because that would really suck. But then, in the afternoon of Saturday, Elizabeth April, who many of you heard on this show for just the first time, when was it? A week ago. A week ago tomorrow. Well, she's flying out from Toronto, Ontario, to be a part of it. And then our main speaker for the event, Miriam Delicato, will close out the night, which is going to be really good. 2 hours with her. She's the only guest who gets 2 hours. Because her alien abduction story actually happened in this town where I live. And it's one of the best. Okay, I have to explain this so people can't have. Everything, once you start getting into northern British Columbia, goes by miles. Even though we're in kilometers here, they named the town way before kilometers were even invented. So, on the 99-mile hill coming down into 100 Mile House is where the event happened. And I think I found the spot. So when you're up in a couple weeks, Mike, to help me with my paranormal event on the 20th of May, I'll show you that spot. It'll be fun. So then, after that, we have the 9 p.m. live radio show once again, or guests will be able to choose whether or not they want to go on a ghost hunt at the 108 Mile Museum. Then Sunday, we have Eric Cooper at 10 in the morning. He's going to talk about aliens. Joanna Banca from Two Mediums and a Large. She will be following him to talk about everything esoteric in the spiritual world. That's going to be fun. And then Samantha Mowat, followed by our final reader of the night, the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, coming all the way from Pennsylvania for this. And then that
sounds like a nice little weekend.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're going to have some great deals on the hotel rooms. And by the way, while you're there, you can get massages and go swimming, sit in the hot tub, or you could just hang out with me. I'll be there. I'll be hanging out. It'll be a lot of fun.
And then we have the other conference, too, I think the week before, is it?
Right before that. The week before that will be the Forest Moon Paranormal Conference down in Washington State, in Concrete, Washington. And yes, there is a lot of concrete there. So it'll be fantastic. Fantastic. I think it'll be a great weekend. I say everybody comes on out for that. I really do. I really do. I was fired up, man.
You were fired up. I had to talk you down.
You didn't talk me down. You didn't speak through the thing.
Via message, bro. Message.
Yeah,
We're
that's
good.
true. That's true. The round table will be on, for our guests of the Paracon, will be the final event on Sunday. So, it'll be a lot of fun. Robert White down in Australia is asking, I heard broadcasts from bars before. The non-participating get rowdy. No, this is going to be a lot of fun. And there's going to be hot wings there. Damn it, I want hot wings. Ron, if you come, we will hang out. Yes, your audience groupies can hang out. I will sign your chest as well. I will have a special ghost Sharpie for that, my friend. A special ghost-shaped gold Sharpie. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a gold Sharpie just for Ron.
You look like a guy that would use a gold Sharpie.
I totally would. I totally would.
Yeah.
Mr. Skeptic at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, I need to know, should I go with the gold or the silver Sharpie? What is more believable, the gold or silver Sharpie? I know I got you thinking right now. I love Tripp's comment in the SOR or in Spreaker's chat room. He's saying, Dave just wants everyone to show up to help him get firewood for the winter. Hell yes. You have no idea what a burnaholic Mrs. Spaced Out Radio is.
Dave, do you know what a cord of wood is yet?
I knew what a cord of wood was long ago, my friend.
Just checking.
Long ago. What I'm saying here, though, is my wife is a burnaholic. The first winter we were up here, we went through 6 cords of wood. And that lasted us through, I don't know, February or something along those lines. So I said, okay, I'll go get more wood this year. So I got 10 cords of wood. 10 cords. I was out by January. I didn't think one person could be so pyro like that. She was totally pyro over that. Totally.
Yeah.
It was amazing. How do you do that? Skeptic at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Not WTF. I just need to know, gold or silver Sharpie? Which one looks most promising and believable? That's all I need, man. That's all I need. Anyways, Mike, get back to the paranormal here. Do you think after being a part of TAPS and then being a part of your own thing, is it the freedom of being a part of a group like that that is just that you prefer to stay, lack of a better term, rogue and do your own thing rather than have to play by a set of rules and guidelines that, in my opinion, really don't make sense?
How can I explain it to you? Well, they do their investigations, that they do them well with the tools they have, but sometimes it's just not your cup of tea. For my cup of tea is I like to use every tool possible to see what the problem is. And I like to have a solution for that. Like we talked about earlier, I can't leave a place without fixing it or attempting to fix it or have somebody else fix it, like refer someone. I don't hoard research. I share it. Same with locations. If Johnny wants to come to this location, Sure, Johnny, come to the location. It's not about the street cred, it's about helping people for me. So yes, to answer your question, not playing by a set of rules that have been implemented by an organization is better in my opinion, because it's just freedom.
That being said, though, Mike, I mean, there are so many different rules and guidelines that each team develops for themselves. I'm having a hard time believing, or if I'm a consumer and I'm hearing this for the first time, I would have a hard time trusting anybody to come into my house.
Makes sense. It's all about customer relations too. You got to use the whole. Yes, you're a group, but technically they are your customer because they're seeking your service. Even though it's a free service, you still got to give them that safety net that you're trustworthy.
How do you provide that trust? And I'm not saying you in general, okay, or your group in general, but how can the paranormal then provide that trust when we hear things like we heard from, about taps tonight, when they're not solving anything and they have no intention of solving anything?
Tell them how you pitch it to people. It's like if I wanted to come see you and you inquired about an investigation to me, I would explain to you step by step how we do it. There'd be no hidden things, and it'd be more about you and your needs being met with the investigation. That's how I would do it. It wouldn't be about how this is how we do it, like it or lump it. It would be how can we help you? That's how I would make it trustworthy.
I understand that. Do you then believe, though, that... And it comes down to that age-old question, Mike, in regards to the paranormal field. Why there isn't some sort of user's guide handbook. And I know they've been created before. I know people who are smart in this industry have built this before. But the lack... I mean, listening to this tonight, honestly, I literally did crack open a beer. I literally did. And the beauty of being online radio, I know we're on a couple of terrestrial radio stations, but the beauty of being online is I can get away with that. Because I'm the boss. And I'm the host, the producer, the secretary, the booking coordinator, advertising guy, okay?
The big guy. Yeah, you're the big guy.
So the whole point that I'm saying here is, how do you expect anybody in the mainstream to take what we do seriously when we can clearly see by the evidence that was provided tonight that the lack of education into what is going on and the lack of having some sort of serious guideline or book or rules to follow is nowhere to be found?
Dave, you and I just need to get a pen, some paper, maybe make one.
Yes, but who's going to take that seriously, Mike? Seriously. No pun intended there. Who's going to take that seriously? This field, over the last 10 years, thanks to paranormal television, is so far blown and so far gone. I think it's incapable now of having some sort of rules. My God, Mike, you keep hitting that button. I
was trying to be quiet. Okay.
Oh, I'm fired up here, man. I'm fired up,
bro.
Honestly, I think I need a hug tonight. I really do.
I'd hug you if I was there. You know that.
I know you would. You got to bring some of those hot wings next time you come up again. Those were good.
Now bring your wings. That'll help you. Comfort food.
Absolutely. Yes, comfort food. My winter looks like I've had enough comfort food here for a long time. But Mike, do you see what I'm saying? We all want to be taken seriously, and you and I have had this conversation numerous times. numerous times, face-to-face, over the phone, online, even during this show. Why would the public take us seriously? I'm curious. Your opinion. You work a government job, and that's as far as I'll go with that. Okay? I work a public job during the daytime. Why would anybody take us seriously if my whole job as a paranormal investigator is to prove that your haunted house is haunted?
I think people will take you serious. One step to taking you seriously is seeking your help, your expertise. I know the other conversation we have, so I'm trying to choose my words carefully so we don't divert into the other one. They view you as a bit of an expert in that field. What deems you as an expert? That's a different conversation. I don't deem myself as an expert because I'm always learning. I deem myself as knowledgeable, but that's how you have to tell people. Walk them through the investigations. Let the client take part in the investigation to see you're serious, to see the tools you use, to see the people you bring in to help. And then the solution, have the client a part of that. I personally like to involve the client with the investigations, not kick them out, not borrow their house for a couple hours while we're doing an investigation. And I think that's how a client will take you seriously, because you're involving them and making it personal.
I don't know if I would allow you, if I was a rookie here, okay, and I was in dire need of someone to come investigate my house, after what I heard tonight, I don't know if I would allow it. I'd probably I would probably put the for sale sign up in my house and move, not knowing any better.
You can also bring case studies and results of your previous investigations to show people examples of some of your work.
True.
Get them comfortable with the idea before just attacking their house.
But Mike, it can't be that difficult. And the sad part about it is, I go back to what I said in the last half an hour. That TAPS group is the big dog on campus. Honestly, they're the big... You as an investigator, or many people listening who have any type of experience in the paranormal may think differently. But from the public's perception, due to the television show, they are the big dog on campus.
That is true.
Okay? And when you have the big dog on campus not providing you any solutions to your evidence, not taking that evidence to try and solve any problems, basically burying it, taking a shovel outside, burying it 6 feet under. Well, we're done with it. We don't need it anymore. Okay? And yet, on the same hand, and I had to stop the ladies from doing this, because I begged them in hour number 2 going in, please do not use the word science. You could tell they wanted to. You could tell they wanted to. Okay? But then, after all of that, you have the nerve to try and say that your investigation is scientifically backed.
I can't use that word. Just because, do we use quote-unquote scientific practices as per the paranormal field? Yes. But do we also bring in wild cards like a medium or other types of spirit communication tools? Yes. Like a K2 would be a scientific tool.
I understand that. I do understand that. But we're playing with people's lives here, Mike. That's the whole point that I'm trying to get at. We have thousands of people every weekend or every night who are playing with people's lives, people who don't know. Okay? And when you're playing with people's lives, their household, everything that they have invested in their life, and you're going to play with that for your own ego? For your own personal research?
No. Seeing that again, I disagree with that too. It's doing client. Like, you're doing it for the client. It's not like for it's not for personal use, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know we agree. We're on the same page with that.
But
it's hard because.
But this is what's happening every day.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And it's not just TAPS teams. I mean, let's face it. You've heard of them. I've heard of them. There's debunking teams out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would like some paranormal investigator. Okay. And I'm going to use Eric Markham's terms here because he is our resident scientist. Mm-hmm. I would like some paranormal investigator tell me how you conduct a scientific experiment without being in a scientific area. When you don't have things roped off or you're not in a controlled environment where you can use scientific tools for the benefit of what you are trying to solve. But the answer is simple to that, in my opinion. The answer is simple in my opinion because you're not solving anything. Like TAPS. They're not trying to solve anything. Debunkers.
Research-based. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like with the debunkers and those people, I hate that word. I love bringing them on investigations and watching them change their perspective throughout the night. That is a win for us paranormal people.
I get that. Right? I do get that. I mean, maybe I'm just too fired up on this show right now and I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. But I don't think I am. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yes, the gear is scientific, okay? The gear is scientific, and there are trying to improve that. You have members of your team who are trying to improve on the technology to prove, whether or not there's things happening.
Yeah, we do. We have a couple team members. We got our guy James who wants to create gear and make current gear better. Like the scientific gear.
But until you're in a controlled environment, you're not conducting anything scientific.
No, and I fully agree with you. Our gear is meant for a ghost to trigger it. Example, like a REM pod. It has like a little invisible barrier around it. And the idea of a REM pod is when you get close to the little antenna, once you breach the little bubble around the antenna, that's when it goes off, and that's supposed to be a ghost. You can deem that as a scientific result, or you can deem that as oh crap, a ghost just tried to touch my REM pod. It's all perception.
Same as a medium.
Absolutely, it's perception.
We got about 4.5 minutes here, 5 minutes to go here on the big program. Talking everything paranormal. Old Davy here got a little upset tonight. Not upset. Concerned, shall we say. I think concerned works a little bit better.
You're a very critical thinker, which is good.
Is it critical, though, or am I just being a jerk?
Column A, column B.
I don't want to do the Benjamin Franklin on this.
No. Valid points, right? I get it. I get where you're going.
But I think it's simple questions. Because you know what? We have people in this audience who are listening right now who live in haunted houses. And they would love someone to come into their house. And I guess, not slamming, and I want to make this, I want to profess this, it's not slamming the Edmonton Paranormal Society, okay? But
you almost said Oilers.
I know. I love my Oilers. Either way, it's not slamming their group or the people involved with it. But if you heard this, let's say this was your first time, you have a haunted house, you're not sure where you're going to turn, and you hear this group that comes in, okay, and I'm not saying Edmonton Paranormal Society, I'm saying TAPS in general, comes in, And all they are going to do is prove to you that your haunted house is haunted or not. Where is the comfort in that?
I agree. If I wasn't in the field and my house was, I thought, haunted, and the group came in and said, dude, your house is haunted, peace, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. I'd be like, help me. And that's where different groups, like the group I belong to, that's what we do. We will do the help part. We won't just leave you. We'll do the best we can to help you or provide you with someone who can. Make sure people aren't alone in that, because it's big to do. Like, people lose sleep. They become depressed with hauntings. You want to get people out of that.
I think I'm going to need a bowl of Fruit Loops after this one. I like my Fruit Loops. I really do. But
Fruit Loops with chocolate milk's pretty good, straight up.
Oh,
so,
God. That's another 10 pounds for me that I don't need right there.
Do it with almond milk, then.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. I'm human, man. Do I look vegan?
You look like a guy that would drink almond milk.
Not a hope. Not a hope. And I don't even drink eggnog either.
Eggnog's pretty good.
Dude, all eggnog is literally broken up spackle from your ceiling, ground up, and mixed with milk. It's the same paste, man.
But with rum, it's fantastic.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Little Christmas cheer.
Oh, it's terrible.
Embrace the nog, bro.
No way. You know what? I think I may ban you from Mrs. Spaced Out Radio's pancakes if you continue that.
Can't do that.
Watch me.
That's erroneous. There's your word for tomorrow. Erroneous.
No, you can't set the password. That's Bill's job.
I just gave Bill an idea. That's all.
No, Bill, you know what? We're coming close to the end of the week. Bill is probably going to punish me on the passwords the next couple of nights.
Fair enough.
He knows I'm fired up right now, so he's going to get me big time tomorrow. I can feel it. Can already feel it. John Porter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Why do you have to post that? I can't even go over there and look at it. You got to go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you're on Twitter. Give us a follow at Spaced Out Radio. Around this time every night, John tries to crack me up. and you succeeded, John. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Mike, what's coming up for you and the Canadian Paranormal Investigation team?
The next 3 weeks, we got a couple fantastic investigations. Actually, we got a historic cafe. We were there a couple of weeks ago. Got some fantastic EVP footage, a couple good photos. Then we got another historic little diner up at Fort Langley that we're going to be doing early May. It's a follow-up investigation with an evidence reveal. A lot of activity in the basement there. Got a couple good photos and got a couple of tricks up our sleeve for June, July as well. Probably be hitting the road to some places.
Don't forget, you're coming up to my museum, May 20th.
I thought it was May 15th.
Or is it the 5th? No, the 15th I'm in Boston, man.
I'm kidding. I was just stressing you out more.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
No worries.
Mike Morin, why don't you do us all a favor, because we're so excited to hear it. Why don't you click around on your computer a few more times, just so we can hear it. There we go. We'll never forget that sound. Beauty! Absolute beauty. We're going to call you the Click right now. If you want to be part of the Click, contact Mike Morin of the Canadian Paranormal Investigations. Mikey, good show tonight, my friend. And we also want to thank Kathy Rogers and Sherry Moore from Edmonton Paranormal Society in Edmonton, Alberta. Good to have them on. Ghosts of the Great White North happens the third Wednesday of every month. The next time we bring little Mikey Morin on will be on the 17th of May. That's 1 week before my birthday. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm not 50 this year. I am not 50
You
this year.
You kind of look like a guy that would be 50.
I'm turning 44. Turning 44.
All right.
All right. Do you mind? I'm trying to end the show here. If you're listening in on the Spaced Out Radio side and our terrestrial radio side, WQEE 99 Rock the Key and the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans, you hear Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL playing in the background. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Want to thank everyone for tuning on in. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton joins us, the Rebel Planet News Maestro. The Rebel Planet goes the third Wednesday or Thursday of every month. We're talking everything from fake news to Carl the Alien, because, Carl, I'm putting it out to the universe right now. It's 2 years since I saw you at my window, you big gray-headed bastard. Let's get this thing going. I'm hoping you show up tomorrow night, Carl. I want to see you. Our audience wants to hear about it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Spaced Out Radio tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time. We'll be back in 21 hours from now. Tell a friend, because at Spaced Out Radio, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, take us home.